So you have an ample bedtime routine for your toddler or preschooler, but they're still giving you a hard time when it's time for bed. They get ample daily activity, nutrition, and time spent with you. There's no known medical stuff going on, and you don't allow them to watch so many screens that it busies their mind. Yet bedtime comes and it's still, ugh. So now what? J-Dawn Mom here, grown mom with grown kids, and as you know, I share videos every week about my life as a Moya, a mother of young adults. But I also have flashback videos like this one, talking about things to do with your kids when they're little. Things I've learned, experienced, and grown through over 3 decades of raising 6 kids. This is part 3 in our Winning at Bedtime with Preschoolers and Toddlers series. If you haven't watched part 1 and part 2, I've listed the links in the description below. Today we're talking about setting expectations at bedtime for ourselves and our kids. Toddlers and preschoolers are learning about cause and effect. When I do this, this happens. If I don't do this, that happens. They're learning these things. They're very important lessons that they're going to learn their whole life. In fact, we're still learning them now. Think about it. When you drive to work on Highway 16 and there's no traffic and you ease right into work on time every single day. But then one day Highway 16 is a mess and you get to work late. You just learned that Highway 16 is pretty reliable, but once in a while there could be a problem. Does that mean you're never going to take Highway 16 again? No, but it does mean that once in a while stuff happens. Our kids are learning the same thing. And at this age of maturity, it's unclear to them the limits of this phenomenon. This whole one thing leads to another. And as the spongy scientists that they naturally are, the hypotheses they come up with have to be tested again and again and again. Hence the, why is he still doing this after I've told him 1,000,000 times? Or, why is she up again? We've been through this so many times already. She's testing her limits. Where is the limit? Think about it. How do you know where the highway ends unless you drive to the end of it? You don't know where it ends. How do you know when the wall comes up unless you come right up to it? Well, that's what they're doing. They're bumping and bumping and bumping up against the wall to figure out, is this wall going to move? Or is this what it is? They got to learn. And we're here to help them. So in order for them to understand what limits are, we actually have to set them and then stand there. We can't set the limit and then keep moving each time they push up against it. Because that's actually teaching them, hey, keep pushing and you're gonna get it. Just keep pushing and you're gonna get it. So we're actually teaching them the exact opposite of what we're trying to get accomplished, right? I know it sounds simple when you put it that way, but when you're in the midst of it and the kid is being the way he's being or saying what she's saying or crying and you're just, it can really seem much more complicated. So it's important that we set the limits and then we take our emotions out of it. Easier said than done. Still necessary nonetheless. We've got to find a way to put our emotions to the side and be as matter of fact as possible. So, for example, if your child wanted to play in traffic, just be with me here for a minute. Would you be like emotionally pulled by their ranting and raving? Would you be like, oh, my child wants to play in traffic so bad, I've got to find a way for my child to play in traffic? Of course not. You would tell the kid, look, get over it. You're not playing in traffic. It's dangerous. It's not going to happen, kid. Just let it go. Right? You would be so clear about that. There would be no wishy-washy wavering. It would just be crystal clear. This is not going to happen. And no amount of manipulating, crying, whining is going to change that. Because as a parent, you have to do what's best for your child. So what's important now is to know and internalize why your child has to go to bed right now. Why? So as a parent, take some time and think about it. Why is my child going to bed at this time? And once you understand, again, go back to the statistics of the American Academy of Pediatrics if you need to. And there are so many studies helping us understand how important sleep is for our children, for everyone, but especially for our children when they're developing their bodies and their minds. It's so, so important for them to have balance emotionally, for them to have memory and attention and all of the learning that needs to happen. Sleep is needed, and without it, they are a whole nother person, and they are at risk for health problems later in life, obesity, depression, hypertension, and the like. So get it in our minds. This is what needs to happen for the good of my child. I think coming from that standpoint is going to put you in a whole nother realm of what needs to happen. It takes the emotion out of it. Not entirely. We're parents. These are our kids. We love them. It hurts us. It pulls at us. But it'll give us a little bit more of an objective place to stand when we tell them what we have to tell them. This bedtime is for their own good. It's not about you as a parent needing a break or just feeling like you've had enough. And yes, we do need breaks. And yes, we do get too much. But that's not the reason. That's an outpouring of them going to sleep on time. We get to rest. But that's not the reason. So that perspective helps a lot. The next thing you want to do is prepare for battle. Like, you know what's going on with your child at bedtime. If you haven't already watched part 1 on the assessing what's going on at bedtime, I suggest you go back and do that so that you can do the assessment and figure out what's going on, what changes need to be made, etc. But once that's done, you need to prepare for battle. You need to know this is not going to go over easily. The longer it's been going on, the bigger the battles have been, the more emotionally charged they've been. All of that is going to make it take a little longer and a little more effort in order to kind of win this fight. Set the expectations. Know that however long it usually takes for your child to go to bed, it's going to take a little longer once you start laying down the law, because they're going to push up against this law you're laying, trying to move it the way they've moved it in the past. Know that you're going to have to return them to their bed again and again and again. Don't set your expectations low, because that's when frustration and impatience comes into play and it just doesn't go well. Just know it's going to take a while. Add an hour on even for bedtime and tell yourself you're going to pick your child up or walk your child back to bed 20 times. By setting the expectations like that, you're not caught off guard when it takes a long time, which it probably will. Also know that both you and your child are going to be tired in the morning for several days while you're working through this process. So be ready for that and know that's what's going to happen. Again, unmet or unrealistic expectations is what leads us to frustration, losing our tempers, and just things going south. I really wish I did this part better when I was bringing up my children. I, really got to my limit at times. I lost my temper. I yelled. And afterwards, I always felt like, what could I have done differently? What could I have done better? And I encourage us to always do that. Parenting is hard, and we're going to learn a lot of lessons. But the best way to do that is to continue to reflect on what we're doing that's working and what isn't, what we're doing well and what we need to get better at. So leave your comments below on things that you've done that worked and not, and maybe some of the times that you really won as a parent, and times maybe you just really needed to do better. But being clear about your expectations for yourself, realistically and reasonably, is really important. For example, if you have trouble putting your preschooler to bed and I told you, hey, you can put your 4-year-old to bed tonight and you only have to tell them one time and they are going to drift off into sleepy land. Besides the fact that that would not be realistic at all, your expectations would be set at a very, very different place. So now take that same example and think, if I said research, statistics, surveys, and experts have said that it takes 7 times for your 4-year-old to hear it before they really process that information. You might be thinking, this is my 3rd or 4th time telling my 4-year-old to go to bed. But that's fine. I'm only on time 3 or 4. I've still got up to 7 times. your expectation would be different and the frustration levels would be much, much smaller. Setting realistic expectations for yourself is really important. And set them for your child. Your child needs to know what you expect of them at bedtime. You expect them to be obedient, to go to bed, to stay in bed, and to go to sleep. These are your expectations, and they are clear. Consider calling in reinforcements. The truth is, parents and kids are so emotionally tied that there are times we just can't be that objective. We just need somebody else to handle it. So if you have a trusted friend or family member who can swoop in and maybe take the reins for a couple of days to get some of this stuff established, take advantage of that, because they don't have the heartstrings being pulled and manipulated in them the way we do from our children. I mean, think about it. You can look at somebody else's kid taking a fit and you're like, kid, get up and get over it. But when it's your kid, you're like, oh, my child, and you just get pulled in so many different ways, right? So if you need reinforcements to kind of take over, so be it. On the other hand, maybe you have reinforcements to tag team. Like you'll start and you'll go as long as you can. It may work out. Maybe you get it right through to the end. Or maybe you start feeling your heart racing and the blood is rising and you're ready to lose it. And you tag out and let your reinforcement take over and continue with the stand that you're taking on what's going to happen at bedtime. So, now that you've set your expectations, it's time to follow through with consequences. So watch part 4, Carrying Out Consequences, in our series of Winning at Bedtime with Preschoolers and Toddlers. This final video in the series will set you and your child up for success and help you to enjoy years of good sleep habits. Hit the thumbs up button and the notification bell. And don't forget to subscribe to the J Dawn Mom family. And I'll see you in the next video when we finish up this series on winning at bedtime with preschoolers and toddlers. See you then. Igzy.